Alright, so we're on paint correction. You've got the vehicle heavy cut. Now what? So, as I was saying, you want to start going through a process of, you got the micro swirls in there, so you're going down to the lowest, basically, part of the scratch. Think of it like a U, like a little ditch. If you put a microscope on it and looked at it thousands of times larger, it would look like a bunch of little cut ditches like in a rice field or some crazy stuff like that. So what we're trying to do is, in the perfect world, if you wanted that all level in a big field, you take a bulldozer and you work it out perfectly level, and then you'd find smaller machines to, and so on and so forth, different machines to make sure it's all perfectly level. Well, what we're doing here is kind of the same thing with compounds or cutting agents or whatever you want to call them. So I was talking about where you take maybe a medium compound with a medium pad, and you might find, hey, this product works a little better, a little hotter, so instead of maybe using a waffle pad, I can use a flat pad. This stuff cakes up way too fast. This particular product it works well with this paint, cakes up way too fast, so I got to use a waffle pad, keep the heat down a little bit so I can work it out better. You might find you need to use water, a little spritz bottle with water, to keep the product working long enough so that you can actually work it out, work the product in real well and get the cut that you want. So you have to learn all this stuff over time. Ideally, you would be in a 70-degree indoor area, and even at that, you'd still find out that just depending on the humidity inside the shop that day, it could change. Depending on how dry things were outside, how humid, it can still change stuff like that. So there's no hard set rules to it. But usually around 70 degrees is the perfect temperature. If it's a little warmer, you just have to use a little bit of water and a great deal of patience. If it's colder than that, you're going to find that the products are going to work for a lot longer, and you're going to have to work them for a lot longer to get the effect that you want on paint. We actually live in the real world where you're not always indoors doing paint correction. So once you get that done, you start getting the medium cut out. You kind of get it to where you want it, and you'll notice a pretty big difference between the areas that are still hazy, like if you put some tape down the middle and do a 50-50, you'll notice a big difference once you kind of get the next step out where you start getting those swirls worked out. And then the next step after that is you got to go with a little bit lighter cut. You might need a medium cut, a little thing that I do a lot. In general, I'll take a medium cut product and do a light cut with it. The reason for that is there are actually, what I found, looking back on things later, is when you look at them on closer inspection, you find that you just didn't quite, there's little micros that just drive you crazy, and this usually gives me really good luck on getting those out. And of course, a lot of times by this, I might have heavy cut the vehicle down through a three-stage heavy cut, 2 or 3 stages or whatever. I might have used a medium heavy type product, a heavy light type product, and then usually like a medium type, and then gone on to a light medium to make sure I get that perfectly worked out. And then come back with, say, a light product with a light cut pad. And usually once you have the light cut on light cut, once you get to that stage, you actually have it ready for polish. I believe that anything short of, it shows up really well on black paint. Anything short of that, you might find other paint that doesn't show up as bad right then. It's after you've waxed it, after the customer has their vehicle, and 3 months later, you got these little swirl marks and holograms starting to rear their ugly heads, and what the heck is going on here? Well, chances are you didn't make sure you got all of those steps in that necessary to make sure that paint's looking. And that's why either you need amazing eyesight, which I happen to have, or and a great feel, which I've managed to develop with a lot of hard work and trial and error. And still, I defer to a little machines where they kind of the micro cameras where they actually blow it up like to a 10-time magnification. And so once you've got that vehicle light cut on a light cut, you're usually ready to polish. And polishing, you can do just a simple polish. What happens a lot of times, and it depends on what the customer wants, you might polish the vehicle 2 to 3 times. Each subsequent polish gets even the finer stuff worked out better and better. On a gloss meter, you're talking maybe picking up a point or 2. You know, I mean, but when you're dealing with more of a demanding clientele that wants their vehicles perfect, then you know you better give them what they want. The perfectionist in me also kind of likes to. It's just that I hate to have to sit and think, well, if I'd have done an extra da-da-da-da-da-da-da, I could have made that look better. Sometimes it drives you crazy on jobs where not as much paint correction or things like that are commissioned or required for the customer's needs. And, of course, you can't afford to do them and put in 80 hours of labor on a job that just doesn't pay that much, where you actually go in the hole. You actually lose a ton of money doing it. So you kind of have to learn to kind of grit your teeth and just give the customer what they want instead of going all out and doing everything you'd really like to do on a vehicle, even if you really think the vehicle deserves it because it's a cool vehicle or whatever. Then after you polish it, there are a lot of sealants that you can put in by machine. Some of them you can put on by hand. I use a little sealant. I really like it. It actually works well for my carnauba waxes because it is actually in the sealant. And it has all the stuff that's normally in your sealants, your little nanopolymers and so on and so forth, that really give it a shine, that really give the color some pop even after you polished it. And it's got a little carnauba in it, and I like that just because it bonds. It's got carnauba there, so you're going to get a good bond with the paint, and then the wax that goes on top of it's going to bond really well with that because carnauba is going to bond well with carnauba, I guarantee you.